This is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum versus Raw. This is from June 14th, 2021. I mean, it's Raw, which has now become a descriptor unto itself. It is most definitely Raw. So this is a go-home edition for Hell in a Cell. I'm not sure which matches are technically going to be Hell in a Cell matches and which ones are matches on the card. They don't make that abundantly clear because Raw. So we got Alexa Bliss, Shayna Baszler, Lily. We got all of that madness happening. Nia Jax appears, tries to appeal to Alexa Bliss. Not sure why. Says she's going to knock some sense into her. Basically, Bliss accepts the challenge. Okay. So we're at the Thunderdome in the Yuengling Center in Tampa, Florida. Corey Graves is there with Jimmy Smith and Byron Saxton. They're hyping up some matches and taking a page out of AEW's book and actually promoting the show. It's interesting. Drew McIntyre versus Raw Tag Team Champion AJ Styles. We're going to have Raw Women's Champion Rhea Ripley versus Asuka, and New Day versus Team RK Bro. So those are three pretty prominent matches, right? Nikki Cross versus Charlotte Flair. The Nikki Cross push continues, I guess. Flair gets distracted as she's dominating on the outside, and so Nikki Cross gets a count-out win. Okay. So a furious Flair charges after Cross. Flair levels her at ringside with a big boot. Flair is mean. Flair goes for the figure 4 on Cross, but Ripley runs in and grabs her from behind, dropping her the riptide. Randy Orton. We see how Randy Orton watched at ringside as Riddle lost to Kofi Kingston last week, failing to use the RKO. Riddle basically apologizes to him. Hardy is telling Riddle to listen to Orton. It's a mess. Jeff Hardy versus John Morrison. Morrison wins. And then Cedric cuts a promo on Hardy. So Hardy says, I'll wrestle you, and if you can beat me, I'll retire. Okay. Jeff Hardy wins. Cedric Alexander is sad. Oh boy. Eva Marie versus Naomi. So Naomi comes to the ring, but Eva Marie, instead of wrestling in her match, Piper Niven comes out and beats Naomi for her, but Eva's declared the winner. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are doing a photo shoot. They're bothered by the women's tag champions, Tamina Snuka and Natalya. They trade some barbs. You'd rather care more about your looks than winning. If you guys didn't have your last names, you wouldn't matter. They're both right. And they brawl. So we have another brawl. So we're definitely AEWing here. We're having a number of brawls and all that kind of stuff. New Day versus RK Bro. RK Bro wins. And they tease a sort of dissension between the New Day, which is sad. It's just sad. It's sad. We see what happened between Nikki Cross, Charlotte Flair, and Rhea Ripley. Schreiber is backstage with Ripley. She knocks Flair for worrying about her ego instead of their title match, so that's the theme. Everybody is worried about something other than what they should be worried about. Man, just the writing is such shit. Ripley talks about beating Flair at Hell in a Cell. Tells Schreiber to get out of her face. You were there with her talking. What the hell? Rhea Ripley versus Asuka. Asuka is completely buried underground. Rhea Ripley wins. And then Charlotte Flair attacks. They beat each other up impressively. Flair's bleeding from the nose. Okay. Bobby Lashley and MVP are backstage drinking champagne and dancing with Lashley's ladies. Kevin Patrick asks Lashley about Hell in the Cell. MVP yells at Patrick and ridicules him. Lashley's focused on Hell in a Cell. Drew McIntyre will finally run out of chances. Lashley says he's going to ragdoll McIntyre in the cell. Okay. Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax. Bliss kicks at Nia Jax's legs and jumps on her back. Nia Jax throws her to the mat. Bliss does this bizarre crawl, gets back on the back of Jax. Bliss keeps attacking her. Jax finally runs her over. Jax ragdolls her. This match is pretty ridiculous. Bliss is on the second turnbuckle eventually. Reginald distracts her from the apron, but this leads to Bliss countering and drop kicking Jax's leg out. Bliss screams in Jax's face and drops her with a DDT. You knew this was going to end in some kind of garbage, and it does. Bliss leaps and hits Twisted Bliss. Reginald runs in and pulls her off for a disqualification. Reginald pleads as Bliss stares him down. Jax recovers. Bliss exits the ring, breaking Reginald's trance at the same time. Fuck me, folks. So you can tell just by me going over what happened in the show, there's no flow to this, right? MVP approaches Kofi Kingston in the locker room. MVP wants to know if Kofi thought more about what he said last week. Basically, MVP is trying to entice Kofi. MVP taunts Kofi, saying he doesn't have a match at Hell in a Cell. Kofi's thinking about what he said. Elias versus Jackson Riker. Elias basically bails on the match, so Jackson Riker wins by countout. Drew McIntyre versus AJ Styles. They have a pretty good match, but the long and short of it is Lashley enters the ring and hits Drew, so Drew wins by DQ. Viking Raiders hit the ring to stand by. So now we go to commercial. We come back and we have a six-man, the Viking Raiders and Drew against Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, and Omos. Omos basically keeps tagging in, doing one move, and then tagging out. Basically just screaming, "I am green." Long and short of it is Lashley kind of comes in because he's tagged, but he wasn't expecting to be tagged, so he comes in completely unaware, and then Drew catches him with the fucking Claymore kick and pins him and stands tall. That's this picture that you have here. This is fucking terrible, folks. It's terrible. Awful.